Madam Speaker, thank you. This past weekend, like many Americans, my wife and I sat at our kitchen table and worked on getting our taxes figured out so that we could file our return. Across our country, millions of Americans are working to finalize their annual tax return. It is clear that our system of income taxes is broken. To restore our nation's economic health, increase personal liberty, reduce cheating and confusion, and restore fairness, Congress must abandon our current tax code and replace it with something much better. There is no reason that paying taxes should be so complicated and so confusing. The burden in this process that's placed upon individuals and small businesses must be relieved. The IRS itself has estimated that 7.6 billion hours are spent in tax preparation every year. 7.6 billion hours equates to 3.8 million people working full-time for a full year. Congress can simplify this process and reduce the amount of time and energy spent on paying our taxes. As a longtime supporter of the fair tax, I see H.R. 25 as a step in the direction of liberty and prosperity. The fair tax seeks to eliminate the payroll, estate, and many other taxes to be replaced by a national sales tax levied on purchased goods. Overhauling the U.S. tax code is not an easy task to undertake, but reducing the burden of filing taxes should be a priority in this Congress. Anyone who views our tax collection practices can see the flaws. The question is whether Congress has the courage and determination to change it. The process of tax reform has major consequences for every American, but it is a process that must be started because the consequences of inaction are too costly. The truth remains that Americans want and need some sort of tax filing relief. The need for common sense reform becomes more obvious during this tax season. I've called on the newly installed chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Levin, to schedule a hearing on the fair tax. I encourage my colleagues who are serious about starting an open conversation on tax reform to join me in this request. The American people are ready to have that conversation, and their representatives should be also. Americans are in need of tax reform and simplification, but instead all they are getting from this Congress is increased spending and record deficits. By reforming this broken process, Americans will once more be in charge of their lives and their money. Over the course of the last several years, American taxpayers have become much more attentive to what is and what is not happening in Washington, D.C. Tea Party protests and fair tax advocates are making their voices heard. Their message is clear to Congress. If Congress will only listen, simplify the tax code. In doing so, we will create an opportunity for economic growth and new prosperity while increasing personal freedom and liberty. April 15th is now less than 1 month away. No more business as usual. Let's not let another tax year go by without action to replace our convoluted, confusing, and freedom-restricting tax code. I yield back.